So, right, so this fly doesn't It's been a long week, guys. Right, so this fly doesn't really need any introduction at all, but it is a fly you won't be without in your box, especially if you're fishing for sea trout or any other saltwater species. It is, of course, the famous Pattegrisen from the hands of Claus Eriksen, one of the best sea trout fishermen, probably in all of Europe, if you ask me. Also a very nice guy. Many years ago, he invented this fly. It's supposed to mimic a shrimp, but at least in our waters, I've never seen a pink shrimp, unless of course you you boil it. But if you ask any sea trout, I bet they haven't ever seen a boiled shrimp. So I don't know what turns them on by this pink color. All I know is works wonders. If nothing else seems to work, put one of these on. And that's also why I kind of have a love-hate relationship with this fly. I love it because it is just so deadly, but I also hate it because I didn't invent it, and you could get away with only having this fly in the box. But who wants that? No more chit chat, let's get down to the tying right here on my CNF design vise. And if you hang on to the end, I will show you one little trick to finish this fly off in a different way than the usual. Gets a bit lumpy in the back, but not with my method. Right. Now the hook in the vise is the Ahrex NS 156. I kind of favor that hook at the moment. And this is a size 6. Fairly big. Get the thread down there to the hook point. Grab yourself a piece of mallard. This is a fluorescent orange one. And what I like to do is to cut off the tip. So you get a V like this. Just helps to get the feathers a better taper. So tie that on there. Tie that in. Almost all the way to the back there, and then cut it off at an angle, which will help build a nice taper to the back. Like so. Now what makes this fly so special is these spay hackles from Whiting. Long, webby, lots of movement. There are also cheaper alternatives, and let me know down in the comments if you want a video on a cheaper version. I guess I could do that if the interest is there. Now these feathers are a bit hard to work with because the fibers are so long, but grab it by the tip and then just open it up like this, and then just tie that in the tip there. Fold this back over, tie it down again, and then move your thread a bit out of the way. And then it's just straight forward with palmer hackle here, or palmering, I believe it's called. Touching turns. Now I know some people who don't like this marabou stuff in the back here. I think it kind of adds to the fly, so I'll just put in a turn or two. Catch that hackle stem there. The rest. Just kind of work it here. Pull the feathers, the fibers tight with your fingers like this. And then get your thread up to that tie-in point in front. Around here. Just like that. Then I want some dubbing on there. That's not true. I want some antennas on there first. This is some super hair, supreme hair, super hair, whatever. Just a few strands. Few on each side, directly on top, but then just taper these a bit longer than the longest feathers here, just a tiny bit. Like so. Then onto the dubbing. The one I'm using here is Senio's laser dub. Original, it was with SLF saltwater dubbing. I just like this a bit better. It's easier to work with. Form a small bump here. Just like that. Get your dubbing brush, give it a good beating. See that? That gives a really nice transition from the feathers to the eyes, which we will be putting on now. I make my eyes myself. You can of course buy these easy shrimp eyes or from other manufacturers. I just think they are too big. I'm not saying they're bad, but they're just too big for my taste. So putting the eye on the other side here, make sure they have the same length, roughly. Cut the rest off there. Like that. Then you want some sort of rib to hold it all together. I'm using a bit of fluorocarbon here. Make sure it's nice and secure on there. Right. Then you want to grab a second feather. This time I will be tying it in let me see here. This tapers kind of weirdly. So sometimes these taper from long at the back here to short at front, and if that's the case, you just want to do the opposite of what I'm doing here. But this feather in particular is longer up here than down here, so I will tie it in where the fibers are the longest, so that helps the taper towards the back here from long to short. Get that on there. Tie it down. I can just flip this back over on itself. Like that. That's the rib in place and the feather there. Get some dubbing. And as usual, I start there in kind of in the opposite end, but that really helps to give you some dubbing to brush out afterwards. It doesn't look good if you if you haven't got enough dubbing on there. You start brushing and you can see the thread wraps through. At least I don't like it, so you can of course do what you want. Get a nice taper here, like that. find that feather. And you want one full turn in front here, and then you want to start opening these turns up. See, this feather is actually a bit too short, so I might be opening these up a bit more. That's more like it. So tie that off back there. Down. It's nice and secure. Now this looks like a mess, and it is. We will correct that by combing the top half of the fly, kind of divide it in two, give it side parts. Feathers down a little bit. Like this. Now for this little trick I want to share with you. The original way is you tie in this, what is this called? So this is near hair, I think, some synthetic. You can use sculpting flash fibers or whatever. This gets tied in on the back here, and then you cut them clean off, and you have to kind of make a really big lump in the back to make sure it doesn't fall apart. What you can do though is take a long piece like this, find the middle, roughly the middle, tie it on in the back there, and then flip it back over on itself like this. And that way you don't get that lumpy finish there. Just be careful not to take too much of it, because you are doubling it over on itself. So get that rib out. First turn in. It's always the first turn is somehow always the hardest. And then just slowly work your way through this mess. Don't worry about catching too many of these fibers along the way. They are pretty strong, so you can always brush it out afterwards. Just take your time with it. go. Get that last turn in the back there. Secure it. Almost broke my thread there. Okay, I can kind of spread this out a bit. Your fingers. Get a good finish in here. Like that. Get the thread out. Now you can see here it gives a really nice finish. If you do it like this. But then I just want to spread out this hair on top here. Kind of spread it out a little bit before I cut it. And what I like to do is just to hold it up like this, kind of look where the eyes are, and then just trim it at an angle. Now all there's left to do is to brush out these trapped fibers in there. Also brush out a little bit of that dubbing. Final adjustments here. And there you have one finished Pattegrisen, or pink piglet, whatever you want to call something like this. A boiled shrimp. Okay, that was it. Not so easy a tie, I guess, but if you tie up a few, you really get the hang of it. And not every fly needs to be a fast tie, especially if you like fly tying like me. So if you like this video, guys, please remember to hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and maybe even hit that little bell down there so you get notified whenever I upload new videos. And I will see you guys next week.